Okay, so level 3 is writing equations of parabolas or quadratics. In number 4, it asks us to write it in standard and in vertex form. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start in vertex form and then transfer it to standard form. So if you look at our graph here, we're going to note a couple points. Obviously, we want to figure out what the vertex is, and that's this point here, and that's at 3, -5. And then we've got a bunch of other points here. We got -1, 1. Sorry, -1, -1. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, -1, and then these points over here are 4, -4, and 2, -4. So we got a bunch of points. The most important point right now is obviously that vertex, so that's what we're going to start with. In our form, y equals a times x minus h plus k, we're going to substitute the x and the y value in for h and k. So if the vertex is at 3, -5, I'm going to put in 3 for h, whoops, as I just wrote h, 3, and then -5 for k. So I can say plus -5, or I can just write -5. Now here's where we got to find out what the a value is. You can choose any point that's on the graph besides the vertex. I usually try and keep things small, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick this point -1, -1, just because their numbers are small. You could have picked any other point on this graph. So I'm going to substitute these for x and y, those point values, so -1 in for y, and a -1 in for x, and I'm going to solve, whoops, I forgot that squared, and I'm going to solve for a. So simplifying the right-hand side, that's -4 squared. I'm going to put that a on the other side, just so it looks a little bit more familiar to me. Adding 5 to both sides. This is going to be 4 equals 16a. I'm going to divide both sides by 16. So a is going to equal 1/4. So now my final equation, I'm going to get rid of this a up here. Is going to be y equals 1/4 x minus 3 squared minus 5. You could have said f of x instead of y. Either one would be fine. So this is vertex form. And now what you're going to do here to get it in standard form is you're going to simplify it. So remember that x minus 3 squared means it's twice. Don't break the math. Distribute the x, distribute the 3, and keep the 1/4 out of it for a second. Alright, now we're going to distribute the 1/4. If you simplify 6 over 4, that's going to be 3 over 2. Okay, and then combining like terms. 9/4 minus 5 is -11/4. So here is your standard form. So you can see that vertex form is a lot cleaner than standard form, and you can tell a lot just by looking at it. You can tell where the vertex is, you can tell what the a value is. In standard form, it's a lot of fractions. I know how much you guys love fractions. So you can see why vertex form is probably the preferred form over standard, but standard is something that you will come across this year and next year. So it's good to get in the habit of writing it in both ways. So now we got write the equation of the parabola in standard form that contains the zeros 1/2 and -5. So this means the zeros. Zeros mean your x values or your x-intercepts. It's just another way to describe it. So that means, okay, well, x is going to equal 1/2 and x is going to equal -5. Now I want to create the factors that are going to give me those answers. So for the first one, I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. I'm going to get 2x to equal 1. And now, again, I want it to become the zeros. I want to get this factor equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract 1 from both sides. So now I've got one factor. I'm going to go over here and do the same thing for the other one. I want to get it equal to 0. Whoops. 1, 2, 1. So your two factors are going to be 2x minus 1 and x plus 5 equals 0. And it wants it in standard form. So all we're going to do here is go ahead and distribute. So we have 2x squared plus 10x minus x minus 5. So your final answer is going to be 2x squared plus 9x minus 5 equals y.